Hi Year 6, today we're going to look at rounding. Okay, so something that you've been doing for years. I know because I've taught some of you in Year 4, we teach rounding in Year 5, and then now you need to know in Year 6. Okay, so this first page here is just going through really simply explaining what you look for. So I was rounding to the nearest 10, then I will look in the ones column for information to help me decide whether I'm rounding up or whether my number's going to stay the same. Okay, the next one, rounding to the nearest 100. If I'm rounding to the nearest 100, well, I'm going to look in the tens column, and the number in the tens column will help me decide if I'm rounding up or sticking with the 100 that I'm at. The thousands column, I'll look in the hundreds to get my information. Rounding to the nearest 10,000, I'll look in the thousands column for my information. If I'm rounding to the nearest 100,000, I will look in the 10,000s column. And if I'm looking to the nearest million, well, then I'll look in the 100,000s column, and that's where I'll get my information. There is a really, really easy way to remember this, and that's to remember if the number is 1, 2, 3, or 4, you round down. People always say round down, and then what sometimes happens with round down is it gets quite confusing because you think that you have to go to the number below, but it basically means if you round down, the number that you're rounding to is smaller than the number you were given, so that's why they say down. But if you're rounding to the nearest 10, then you stay with that 10. If you're rounding to the nearest 100, you stay with that 100. But the number will be lower than the number you were given, so you are rounding down, but you're not rounding down past the 10 or 100 that you were on. I'll explain that more when we get to a number for an example. But yeah, so if the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, round down. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you round up. If the number is 0, well, then it just stays the same. Again, that is something that I will clarify more, because obviously if you had something else, if you round into the nearest 10,000 and then in the thousands column it was 0, you'd have to change all the numbers that are in the hundreds, tens and ones columns to zeros as well. But we'll see as we go along what happens there. Okay, so this question is going to ask us to round to the nearest 10. We'll just kind of warm ourselves up, okay? So which 10 is the following number nearest to? And I always find it's easier to use a number line for this. So you've got a number line there. We're looking at the number 36, okay? So I'm rounding to the nearest 10. I can think about my two options. Well, the 10 before 36, so if I was rounding down, the 10 before 36 is 30. The 10 after 36 is 40. So 36 is between 30 and 40, but I've got to figure out which one it is nearest to. If I was to put that on the number line, then that's where it would be. So now it is labelled on the number line. I always kind of visualise halfway. So halfway is 35. 35 and above would be closer to 40. 34 and less would be closer to 30. Well, 36 is above 5. It's in that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 category, isn't it? Okay. It's above 35. It's past halfway. It's close to 40, meaning the 10 that it's nearest to is 40. Okay. Okay, so we'll go through that again. So we've got 980 here. We're rounding to the nearest 10. So we need to look at the ones column to help us figure out if we're rounding to the nearest 10. So earlier it said if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, you round down. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you round up. If it's 0, it stays the same. And this is explained really easily with this number line as well here. Okay, so you've got a number line. I've got 980. The two tens that it's nearest to, and 980 because that's what you've got there. And then the next one is 990. You would never say 970 because your tens option, when you round to the nearest 10, it will never be any smaller than the 10 that you've started with. So you started with 80. So it's always going to be that 10 and the next one. So started with 80, the next 10 would be 90. Don't forget the hundreds though, because you've got hundreds in your question. So that will stay the same because I'm not really changing those no matter what. Anything before the number I'm working with, anything to the left of the number I'm working with will stay the same. then you've got the number that you're working with, which is the 8. I think you can point that, yeah. So anything over here will stay the same. You've got the number you're working with. This is the one that's going to change. It's either going to stay an 8 or it's going to change to a 9. And then anything on the right of it becomes a 0. Okay, so that's already a 0. So if I had 980, my options are 980 or 990. This one's really straightforward. It's already rounded to the nearest 10. If I was to put it on the number line, obviously it would be there. So this number is then, well, it couldn't be any closer because it's the same number. So this number, rounded to the nearest 10, is 980. That one's very, very straightforward because the number you've been given is 980. It's to the nearest 10 to start with anyway. Okay, so this is where what I've just been explaining about what happens to the numbers becomes really important. So which number is this? Which 10 is the following number nearest to? Okay, so here is the tens column. I look at the tens column. This is the one that's going to change. I look to the ones column to see what the change is going to be. Okay, so anything to the left of the number will stay the same. So it's always going to be 1,400 and something, and it's going to be the 10 that I've got or the 10 above. So it's either going to be 1,450 or the 10 above that is 1,460. So I can pop them on my number line. There's my 1,450. There's my 1,460 on my number line. And then now I look at this number here. I look in the ones. If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, I round down, so that would take me to here. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I round up, so that would take me to here. I've visualised halfway. This point here would be 1,455. Is my number higher than 1,455, so in this section, meaning that I would round up, or is it lower? Well, 1,457 is 2. Bigger than the middle, isn't it? So it's about here. Let's have a look. Yep. They've just pointed anywhere, haven't they? But yeah, so it's on this side. So that means it's closer to 1,460. So this number rounded to the nearest 10 is 1,460. Okay, so now we're looking at to the nearest 100. Which 100 is the following number nearest to? So I've got 156. So here, this is the number I'm working with. I've got nothing before it. So nothing will be staying the same. Okay. This number is 100 I've got. So it's either going to be, my answer can either be that 100, which is 100, or 100 more, which would be 200. So I can label my number line. It's either going to be 100 or 200. And then I'm going to look at this column so that I can decide what I'm supposed to do. If I'm rounding to the nearest 100, I look at the tens column for my information. If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, I round down, so that would be to 100. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I round up, so that would be to 200. This 6 here, no matter what happens, will be a 0. Anything to the right of your column, so hundreds, anything to the right of the hundreds will become a 0. It's only going to be this number that changes or stays the same. Your answer is either going to be 100 or 200. They're your options. Okay, I'm rounding to the nearest 100. I don't have anything in my thousands column, so they don't count. I look at my tens column. Okay, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, I round down. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I round up. Well, it's 5, so it's in that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 round up. But also I can do what we've been doing when we look at the number line. So the centre of the number line here, halfway between 100 and 200 is 150. Okay, so halfway here, my halfway line is 150. 150 and above will go to 200. 149 and below will go to 100 plus 156, so that would be about there on the number line. It's past halfway, it's past that halfway mark, so it's closer to 200. Okay, So here, again, I'm looking at the nearest 100. Let me try annotating this. Okay, so I need to identify my hundreds column. I'm going to the nearest 100. This is my hundreds column. Okay. This is a number I'm working with. Maybe I won't annotate the next one because this doesn't help, does it? This is the number I'm working with, and this number here is the one that's going to help me decide what I'm going to do. Anything before stays the same. You can see there I've got my 37,000 there, and I've got my 37,000 there. It stays the same. Anything before stays the same. Anything to the left of your number. Everything to the right, so here, will become a 0. So it's either going to be 37,300 or 100 more, which will be 37,400. So I can label. I've got 37,300 there. I've got 37,400 there. Okay. So then I look at my tens column, and this is a column that helps me decide what I'm doing. Okay. So if it is 1, 2, 3, 4, I round down. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I round up. Well, it's 7. So it's in the rounding up group. So I can just work it out that way and know that it'd be this, but sometimes it really helps to visualize, I've said before. So halfway, in fact, yeah, confuse myself then. So halfway between these two numbers here is 37,350. You know what I'm trying to write there, but that is questionable. 37,350. Okay, so that's what we've got there. This number, I think, is that higher than 37,350, or is it lower? Well, if we go back to using the mouse, you can see that it's higher. It's much higher. Okay, it's actually 20 higher. So we are closer to this number. We are closer to 37,400. That is our nearest 100. It's the one that we are closest to. It's the one we are nearest to. So that is the answer. The answer is 37,400. Oh, rub it all out. I bet it didn't do what it is on the board now. Okay, so let's go. Okay, now I'm going to work out this one to the nearest 1,000. Okay, so I find my thousands column, which is this one. There is nothing before. So the thousands I've got, it could be 2,000 because that's the one that I'm given. I'm working with 2,000s already. You can't go any lower than what you've got. So I've got 2,000, and then it could go up to 3,000. This number here is somewhere in between 2,000 and 3,000. Okay, so 2,352 is somewhere between 2,000 and 300, and I need to work out which one it's closest to. Is it close to 2,000 or 3,000? Okay, so this is my 1,000. I use this to look. 1, 2, 3, 4 will be closest to 2,000. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 will be closest to 3,000. Well, it's a 3, so it's closest to this one. But then we can do that thing where we look in the middle. Halfway between 2,000 and 3,000 would be 2,500. Is 2,352 lower than 2,500, meaning it's close to 2,000? Or is it 2,500 and above, meaning it's closer to 3,000? Well, it's less, isn't it? It's less than 2,500. If I was to put it on the number line, it's there, okay? Meaning it's closer to 2,000. So which 1,000 is the following number nearest to? It's nearest to 2,000. Okay, I'm not going to go into it too much now because we've done it quite a lot. But again, your options here, because you've got 3,000, this is, I'm looking to my nearest thousand, I look at my thousands column, I look next door. Thousands, 3,000. So my two options are going to be the 1,000 that I've got, which is 3,000, or 4,000. Halfway between 3,000 and 4,000 is 3,500. Well, then I look here at the 8, bigger than 3,500. So I already know it's close to 4,000. But if not, I can think about the rule that I had. 1, 2, 3, 4, round down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, round up. Well, it's 8, so I round up, meaning my answer is 4,000. Which number is it closest to? This one's really straightforward because you've got a 0 in the next column. So your thousands, 4,000, your options were 4,000 or 5,000. But what it told you in that saying at the beginning was, if it's 0, it stays the same. Well, it says 4,090. 0 being in the ones column shows me that it should just be 4,000. But again, if I was to put it on here, halfway is 4,500. This number is much smaller than 4,500 anyway. It's really close to 4,000. It's only 90 more, so it's definitely nearest to 4,000. And that's the end of the slides for you. So again, in your pack, you now have some that you can go through yourselves. You can use either of those ways of looking at it, whichever one works best for you. It's much faster if you can just see it and see that if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, you round down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you round up. And if it's 0, it stays the same. That's the fastest method. But if that's not something that's clicking, it is completely fine to be drawing number lines. It's just might affect your speed in a test situation. Okay, well, good luck with that work, and I'll see you soon. Bye.